Okay, this is the prologue of my book, The Bloodpines. I'm gonna read it here in a minute. You're gonna watch me drive a bit. Probably gonna watch me eat my lunch too, because that's happening. So sorry about the back of the steering wheel. All right, I'm gonna cut to the part where I'm not driving. Ta-da! No, I'm not driving. It's movie magic. This is my book, The Bloodpines. If you've not read it, go buy it. Unless you just want to watch all these videos, and then you don't have to buy it. So while I'm reading this, I'm probably gonna make a lot of interjectures. That's not even a word. You can clearly see I was made to be a writer. I'm gonna make a lot of comments about the writing, and probably some apologies, and I'll swear a lot when I find typos. Anyway, The Bloodpines by Matt Beers. Prologue. Common Lester stood at the railing on top of the watchtower and watched as the last few boys disappeared, laughing and cheering down the path toward home. They wouldn't go far, though. The sun was setting, and there was a designated campsite nearby where they would all spend the night. The whole thing, the walk, the watchtower, the non-existent Bloodpines, seemed foolish to Common, but much of adulthood seemed foolish to him. This was just one more confusing piece of the puzzle. He wasn't in a hurry, but he was growing impatient. "Almost done over there?" he called. His best friend, Abner Burnham, knelt on the platform at the top of the watchtower with his hatchet in his hand. It was a tradition to carve your name into the tower once you'd climbed it. One more layer of proof that you'd come and claimed your manhood. "Almost," said Abner. Common walked over to inspect Abner's handiwork. He had carved both of their names nearly half an inch deep. "Good Lord, Ab," said Common. "Did you need to cut it so deep? I don't want it to wear off. Look at the names on here." He gestured around him at the graffito covering the platform. "You can barely read some of them. I just want to make sure future generations of disillusioned boys know we were here." Abner had a habit of overdoing things, and he took perverse pride in knowing how obnoxious he was being in moments like this. "Future generations?" repeated Common. "You think our great-grandsons will still be coming up here?" Abner waved away the question. "I'm never having kids." Common didn't pursue the comment. The wound behind it was still too fresh. Instead, he looked around at some of the other names carved into the platform. He recognized many of them. For generations, boys had been coming up here to fulfill the rite of passage. He'd been excited himself to climb the watchtower and see where the great forest of Bloodpines had once stood. But now that he'd done it, he wondered what the point was. "I think I'd like to have kids someday," he said, forgetting that he was avoiding that particular topic. "Fine, have 100 kids," said Abner. He put a few finishing touches on the carving and stepped back to examine his work. "I hope they're all girls and you have to find husbands for all of them." The two boys, both 15 years old, stood at the railing and watched the sun touch the horizon. Another midsummer day gone. "You ready to go back?" asked Common, meaning to the campsite. "I don't ever want to go back," said Abner, meaning home. "You can't do this, Ab." "Why go back?" asked Abner. "So my father can control my every move? Or so I can watch Victoria get married off to the highest bidder?" "Did you really think you had a future with her?" asked Common, for what seemed like the 100th time. "I asked her to run away." Abner stared at the setting sun without seeing it. Just before the Jubilee. Her father was so preoccupied with preparations, it would have been a week before he noticed she was gone. "Your pa would have noticed," said Common. "Well, it doesn't matter now," spat Abner. "She said no. She said that it was better this way. She said that we're from two different worlds, and she wouldn't be happy living my life, and I wouldn't be happy living her life. She sounded like her mother." "I think I agree with her," said Common. Abner shot him a dirty look. "Can you imagine marrying into that family? Do you really want to be related to Simon Downey? Victoria's great, don't get me wrong, but her brother has got to be the most unpleasant person I've ever met." "True," agreed Abner. "He couldn't even do the whole walk. Had to get a ride from his father." "And everyone knows it," said Common. "But they'll all cheer like mad when he walks into town a full day ahead of the others." "I can't go back to that," said Abner. "Not yet." "So what do we do?" Abner looked south toward town, and then north, away from it. "What do you suppose is up that way?" "Mountains, eventually," said Common. "Why?" A spark flared in the corner of Abner's eye. "What do you suppose we'd find if we walked that way?" "Not much," said Common cautiously. "Loggers cleared out most of the trees." "But not all. They couldn't have cleared out everything." "You think there might be Bloodpines out there?" "Why not?" asked Abner. "Well, nobody's brought back a Bloodpine in nearly 100 years, said Common. "They're all gone." "Are they?" asked Abner. The spark danced from the corner of his eye to the center. "Yes," said Common. He saw the dancing spark, had seen it before, and didn't like what it meant. "But how can we be sure?" "We better go check." Abner moved toward the stairs. "Ab, you can't go wandering around the woods for a week. Your father'll kill you." "A week?" said Abner, pausing at the top of the winding staircase and putting on his most sincere, innocent expression. "This could take months." That's the prologue. That's Common and Abner, best friends and the fathers of my main characters. So we'll meet them again later, but Chapter 1 is not about them. Thanks for watching. I hope you come back for Chapter 1, and I'll get to that maybe after I'm done eating. We'll see.